Hi, welcome to the Old Geezer's Diary. I'm Chris. It's Friday the 9th of August 2019. On the menu today, the NHS 111 telephone triage service, where they tell you where to go if there's anything wrong with you. Now there's a thought for you. The other day I had a classic example of where 111 goes wrong. I'm a fairly sensible old geezer. I've seen a few people knocked about. I've been knocked about a bit myself. Kids, grandchildren, all kinds of people get small bangs and knocks as we go through life every day. And on Tuesday, Dot and I went out on a trip with the WI on a coach, and we went to a venue, and at that venue Dot had a little trip and she landed face first on a music seat. It sounds funny now, but it was a bit worrying then. But what she actually did was smacked herself there under the nose, the top lip, on the side of the chair, and it made her mouth bleed and caused some pain just under her nose. And there you are. And I thought, well, what we can do, it's obviously not a major disaster. The blood was sort of dripping a little bit, but that soon dried up and wasn't quite so bad. But what we decided to do was actually come home back to Felixstowe, our hometown, on the bus, and we could then get her seen by hopefully a nurse at our local minor injury unit. Now, I live in a lovely small seaside town. Now, I live in a small seaside town which has the benefit of having a huge container port right next door. And we have our own cute little cottage hospital, which had, up until recently, a proper MIU, minor injuries unit, where you could literally walk in any time from about 8 in the morning till about 11 o'clock at night and get your minor injury seen and dealt with. They were, and they still are, brilliant. The service is terrific. But what's happened is that someone higher up the NHS has decided they don't want it to be a walk-in, they want it to be appointment only, and you have to ring either your surgery or the 111 service to actually get an appointment to get in and get your injury dealt with. Now, bear in mind, I'm an old geezer. I have seen a lot before, and we will have, of small injuries, and Dot's injury in this instance was pretty small. Uncomfortable, no doubt about that. It was painful. So what we did was got home, and on the way home on the bus in the last 10 minutes I phoned 111, NHS 111, and said I need to make an appointment at Felixstowe Hospital to see one of the nurses just to sort out this minor knock, really. And where was the knock? On her head. Oh, well, we need to just take these details. So they took a load of details, and then they started off down a telephone triage system, which ended up asking questions like, did she fall? Yes. How high did she fall from? I don't know. She was standing up and then she fell down. Oh, was it a metre? Did she fall from a metre? Yeah, I suppose she's, taller than that. And it all got kind of out of hand. At the end of the period, when this went on, bear in mind, for about 10 minutes, after a string of questions, the call handler, this is not a doctor or a medical person or a nurse, the call handler, after going through their computer screen, said, okay, well, we recommend you go to Ipswich A&E. And I said, but that's not appropriate. What we need is just to be seen briefly by a nurse, just to see whether there's anything worse, and if there's something worse, then we'll go to A&E right away. He said, no, it's a head injury, and you must go to A&E, soon. And I said, right. I said, are you sure I can't go to Felixstowe Hospital? He said, well, you can go if you want to, you can go, you're welcome to go. I said, can you make an appointment for me? He said, no, I can't. And in the end, what happened was that we went along to the MIU, to Felixstowe Hospital, and we spoke to one of the nurses, and they said, no, we can't make an appointment for you, and we can't see you without getting a phone call, either from your surgery or from 111. So I said, okay. And as luck would have it, it was still 10 to 6. So I phoned my surgery, which I guess I should have done in the first place. And after a brief conversation, a very brief conversation, in which I was asked 2 or 3 key questions about the condition of Dot, then she said, the lady on the phone said, yep, I'll ring up Felixstowe Hospital now and book you in. That'll be fine. Turn up when you like. So we wandered along to the hospital and we were seen within 10 minutes. The nurse spent, 5 or 6, maybe 7 or 8 minutes with Dot and said, well, there's nothing we can do, but you will heal. You'll be fine and there's no big problems. She gave her a bit of advice about how to deal with the cut that she had in her lips and the cut just inside her mouth. And she said, you'll be fine, there's no trouble. Okay, do we need to go to Ipswich A&E? No, you don't. There is no point. They won't do any more than I will do and they'll keep you waiting for 2 or 3 hours until there's time to see you because you're not very important. So the question I want to ask is, what the hell is NHS 111 actually doing with its telephone triage system? As an old geezer, I've been triaged a few times in my life. I've been telephone triaged by doctors, and that's excellent because they listen to what you say. They have your actual medical records in front of them on the screen, and they can say, yeah, well, this shouldn't be a problem, you can come in tomorrow, or yeah, you need to see somebody, man, go to the hospital. And you can do that because you've been telephone triaged by a professional who understands the medical implications. But if you are telephone triaged by an ordinary person, nice they may be, but an ordinary person who is just reading the questions on a screen, then what the hell do they know? All they know is the answers you give them. And if your answers aren't exactly on the beam, they'll try and isolate them down onto the beam. And at that point, the machine takes over. So because Dot hit this part of her face, and her face is part of her head, they decided it was a head injury and that could be a critical injury. So we had to go to the A&E. Thank goodness we didn't. What a waste of time that would be, and what an immense amount of money would be wasted by A&E in dealing with that case. In this instance, 5 or 6, 7 or 8 minutes with a very competent and very pleasant nurse, and Dot was out of there feeling much, much better and feeling reassured. Now, people of our age, as I said before, are competent by and large with life. We know what's going to hurt us seriously, and we know if we're badly hurt. But in reality, the machine, the NHS 111 telephone triage machine, doesn't know anything. Many years ago, I spent a small amount of time working with the late and unlamented NHS Direct, which was essentially the same kind of system, but that, in that instance, did have the benefit of having professional nurses at some point in the procedure. NHS 111 doesn't have that. Therefore, the only thing we're relying on is a computer system which just picks its next question based on what your answer to the last question was. So if you're hit like Dot was with a bit of wood in the face, it immediately says your face is part of your head, blah blah, and off you go, and you're on this track to get towards a critical head injury. Whereas in fact the nurse looked at Dot and said, oh, you've got a smack in the kisser, let me have a look, and this is what's wrong with you and this is how you'd best treat it. End of story. Simple. NHS 111 seems to me to be a huge over-response or overreaction to minor injuries. Most of us know when an injury is minor. If we're bleeding a lot, it could well be major. If we've got a small cut here and there and a bit of discomfort here and there, then we just need to be looked at by a competent person. NHS 111 is a waste of time. I do sincerely believe that we ought to have walk-in centres anywhere, and we maybe ought to take a very nice little hospital like our little hospital and make it back into a walk-in centre. I'm Chris, this is the Old Geezer's Diary. If you like what I talk about, press on like on YouTube. If you want more, press on subscribe. If you'd like to get notified every time I put up a new video, click on the little bell next to subscribe. You can find me in lots of places on the internet. All you have to do is look up the Old Geezer's Diary and I'll be very happy to see you. That's me, I'm Chris, and I will see you soon.